The CBC has a bizarre propaganda channel targeting children. I'm not talking about kids' TV shows that are just for fun, like maybe Sesame Street. I'm talking about a really weird news channel written by adults, sometimes spoken by child actors, but written by adults, always on propaganda issues, always targeting children when their parents aren't there to protect them. It's creepy. It's weird. It was started under Justin Trudeau for obvious reasons. Here's an example of some of the stories. Here's one on kids suing the government about climate change, which is a really good fit for them because, of course, those are just child actors too, handled by adult manipulators, handled by lawyers. The children are not going to baby court or something. The CBC runs with the story with a straight face as if the kids were actually the deciders here, rather than window dressing covering up the NGOs behind it. Child actors, it's gross. Or this story about transitioning away from fossil fuels, just pure propaganda. Are you sensing a theme here at all? Here's another one I made the mistake of watching. They thought they would bundle up every anti-Donald Trump insult and conspiracy theory and make a little video about it in the name of kids news. They're so gross. I'm not just talking about their biases, of course. Of course, we know the CBC is hard left-wing. I'm talking about adults writing news targeting kids and getting child actors to say the words. It's so creepy. It feels like something like a predator would do or something to hide from the parents how they're talking to your kids. Of course, they're full on with Trudeau's anti-child agenda, including promoting transgenderism, being absolutely obsessed with legalized marijuana. Like I say, they're predators. Like, stop talking to kids about marijuana and transgenderism when their parents aren't there. It's gross. I really don't pay much attention to CBC News kids, and I'm not sure if actual kids do either. Most of their videos, I scanned their YouTube page, have, I don't know, about 1,000 views each. I can't imagine any normal teenager would naturally trust a government outlet, let alone think of the CBC as a source for news. It's so condescending, it's so boring, it's so woke, but who knows? They're obviously doing it for a reason. Maybe the whole reason is simply designed to impress Justin Trudeau and keep the tax dollars flowing to the CBC. Like all government media, they really don't care about their actual audience except that one viewer, Justin Trudeau, who controls their money. So maybe no one's watching it. But look at what the CBC Kids News wrote about now. This is the story that caught my eye. Shutdown of convoy protests was unreasonable, judge rules. And it's written by Angelica Cooper. As you can see, she's got the danger hair, which is usually a political warning signal, don't you think? Here she is in her Twitter feed, which is now locked after I tweeted about her. She says, producing fun at CBC, co-chair out CBC. I want to know about your favorite thing. She, her. Not to be mean, but I actually don't think she does produce fun. I sometimes look stern too, I guess, but I get the feeling that Angelica Cooper, the co-chair of out CBC, hasn't had a day of fun in her whole life, but she's in charge of writing propaganda for your children. Here's what she wrote just a couple days ago. Here's what you need to know, Fancy Star. A federal judge has ruled that the use of the Emergencies Act to stop demonstrators from gathering during the 2022 convoy protest in Ottawa was unreasonable. The Emergencies Act is a law that gives the federal government extra powers in emergency circumstances. The new ruling goes against a previous ruling that said the use of the act was justified given the circumstances. Hang on. That's not true. I mean, sure, there was a judge about a year ago who did an inquiry. Judge Rouleau was his name. He was handpicked by Trudeau to have an inquiry, the terms of which were written by Trudeau. But it wasn't a trial. It wasn't a court case. That judge, he was a judge, but he didn't issue a court ruling as a judge. He wrote a report, his opinion. It wasn't a trial. It wasn't a judgment. It wasn't a verdict. I'll keep going. On January 23rd, Federal Court Justice Richard Mosley ruled that Trudeau's decision to use the act was unreasonable. He said that it violated one of the rights in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which allows groups of people to gather and protest. This goes against a previous ruling from February 17, 2023, where a judge decided that Trudeau's use of the Emergencies Act was justified. It's not true. That's a lie. The federal court hearing was the first time the invocation of the Emergencies Act was tested in court by a judge. What Judge Rouleau did a year ago was not a court case. It wasn't a court ruling at all. Last week's ruling didn't go against a previous ruling. It was the first and only time a real court has had a real hearing about the Emergencies Act. Why is Angelica Cooper lying? Well, not to be blunt, I think that's her job. I'll keep going. The law gives the Canadian government extra powers when existing laws, which guide institutions like the police, aren't enough. This can include the ability to break up protest encampments and even freeze bank accounts. No, I'm sorry, that's just wrong. It's wrong in so many ways that I think it actually took a lot of talent to get it that wrong. The Emergencies Act doesn't permit peaceful protests to be broken up. It only allows that if the protest is about to become violent, like a riot, and regular laws do that too. That's what the law says. That's what the court confirmed. The Emergencies Act does not allow bank accounts of peaceful protesters and their families to be frozen. It does not allow that. It does not allow peaceful protests to be broken up. That's what the court just said. That's what the whole ruling was about. Did Angelica Cooper even read the judgment? Because it specifically said the opposite of what she just wrote.